All right, welcome everybody. So happy to have you all here. I am Wendy English. I'm the co-chair of the Women's ERG here at Anywhere. And this event, Women in Motion, it's in collaboration with Women in Tech and Product and What Moves Her. We have an amazing session planned for you today. And we can Perfect. I just want to share the mission of the Women's ERG. It's to influence the company where we work by inspiring women to feel empowered, valued, and engaged. We want members to advance their skills and leadership potential through mentoring, networking, and development. And so I want to share what we'll be doing here today. But before I do that, just want to share that here today, we're not going to talk about history. We're not going to talk about women in history. We're going to talk about women who are making history here at our company today. So we have a panel discussion moderated by Paula Young. We have some programming from What Moves Her with some special guests. We'll give you a peek ahead at what else we have in store for Women's History Month. And so with that, I want to pass the mic over to my friend Paula Young so she can take it away with our panel discussion.
Thank you so much, Wendy. I just have to take a second and just pull this in here. Oh my goodness. And then even on the screen, wow, absolutely fantastic. Without further ado, what I want to do is bring up our panelists. We have some extraordinary women that's going to be on with us today. I want you guys to get warmed up, so let's give a round of applause. And for folks who are on the chat, please let's see some reactions online with some hearts and some clapping hands. So bring up Lindsay. Wonderful. All right, and then we're going to have Kacie and Charlotte, who is online with us. How beautiful is that? Woo! This is an absolutely extraordinary way for me personally to be kicking off Women's History Month. And I love what Wendy said. Today is not about history. It's about the here and now. It's about the motion that we as women are on. It's about the trajectory that we are on. And I am incredibly honored and blessed and excited to be part of an organization that understands the power and the value that we bring as women to our company. 70% of Anywhere is women. How amazing is that? Absolutely beautiful. And so in preparing for this, yes, absolutely, that's what we want. Some claps for sure. So what I want to do is just do a quick housekeeping. I want everyone to stay engaged, okay? So if you're in the room with us, clap when you hear something that resonates with you, shout out, let's do that. And if you're online, let's see some of those reactions with some hearts, some clapping hands, some smiling faces. Also, if you have any comments, put them in the chat because we have Jess and Kiana who's keeping an eye on the chat for us. So please put your comments in the chat and you'll get shouted out. The one thing, unfortunately, we're not going to be able to do because these women are so dynamic and I want to turn it over to them is entertain questions in real time. But what I want you to do, if you're in the room, write down your questions. If you're online, put them in the chat because the chat is going to stay live for a little while and we will talk to our esteemed guests and they'll be able to answer those questions and put them in the chat for you. So with that, without further ado, I can't even sit. I am so excited. I might need to stand, Lindsay. So without further ado, we have with us Charlotte Simonelli, Executive Vice President, Chief Financial Officer, and Treasurer of Anywhere. Clap it up for Charlotte. We have Kacie Richter, Anywhere Senior Vice President and Product of Anywhere. Miss Kacie, beautiful. And one of my favorite people, Lindsay Listanski, National Vice President of Marketing for Coldwell Banker. Yes. So as was mentioned before, the title of our event today is Women in Motion, the power of telling your story as a woman in business. How many people love storytelling? Yeah. We've been hearing stories since we were babies, right? They resonate with us. They help us to dream. They help us to inspire, they inspire us. And so storytelling has power in business, believe it or not. And so that's what we're going to hear from some of our ladies. So without further ado, I want to go ahead and just kick it over to our panelists. And what I would love for you to do, we're going to start off with Charlotte, is introduce yourselves for us with this backdrop of storytelling, and tell us a little bit about your career journey and how you got to anywhere. So we're going to start off with Charlotte.
Hello, everyone. Thanks for joining us. I'm so happy to be here. This is one of my favorite things to do. So I'll try to be brief and not bore you. And hopefully most of you have not heard this story before. So my journey is probably not dissimilar to other people's journeys. It's nothing I would have planned for myself. And sometimes you just fall into things and you love things and you take risks and you take chances. I think the early part of my career was I was the person who always took the job that nobody wanted. And that really gave me a ton of opportunities. I was single, I was not tethered to any location, so I moved several times. And then once I had a family, you know, my career was also moving at the same time. And I made decisions for family reasons, both to go to Europe and then to come back from Europe. And so I landed here because I took all the jobs that gave me a formative career to enable me to be qualified to do this job, regardless of the industries that I had worked in. But it was a bit of a chance for me too, because you have to believe in yourself to have the confidence to say, like, I can switch industries, I can move into a higher level job and feel like I was going to succeed. So in part, people placed their trust in me. I placed my trust in myself. Some of it is a little bit of a risk, but I don't regret any bit of it. It's 6 years that I'm here and still learning and growing. And as we all know, there's challenges every day in this business. And I think that's what keeps me here is I love the challenge. As far as the latter part of the question, the storytelling piece, I really believe that is actually integral to my job. So whether it's talking to our own business leaders here, talking to the board, talking to our external constituents about the story of Anywhere, it is about synthesizing sort of the financials as well as the strategic and business results of our company to a story that actually makes sense. And what I've found over time is like, this is not something that you excel at the first time you try. This is something that takes a lot of experience and feedback. And when I first started doing this, I was in my late 20s when I got a director of FP&A job. It was my very first director job, the only job I didn't want specifically, and actually said to my boss, please don't give me that job. And it was super formative for me because it actually taught me how to start telling stories with data and with, you know, the facts strategically. Many years later, I think I'm way better at it now than I was then, and still actually need to improve because I don't think the story of Anywhere is resonating as much externally as it should. So I think this is a journey. I think what we try to do is be as crisp as possible. And I think whether that's your personal story or whether that's a business story, it's called the so what. Like if the presentation that you're giving doesn't have the so what, then I think we've all failed. You know, like I failed if I'm telling a story, if someone's trying to tell a story to me, if I have to wait for a meeting to understand what the so what is, we've all failed. So trying to synthesize things down to what matters, and it's the good and the bad. There's a good story to tell, and sometimes there's blemishes along the way, and you have to be transparent and you have to kind of give the full picture of the so what. You don't need to get into the nitty gritty of every little minutia point, but the big things that matter, good or bad or indifferent, you should be telling that story. So that's the advice I would give. I think people get a lot of credit for being concise and for knowing their story, because if you know how to tell your story in a few slides, that resonates well with leadership because that means you have command of your business. So I could go on for hours on that, but there's a lot more to get into here. So I think I'll leave it there.
I love that. The so what. All right. So let's go over to Kacie.
Great. Hi, everyone. Like Charlotte, I would say that my journey started out not traditional. Obviously now I'm in the product space, but I actually started my career in public relations and then went into marketing. I spent the first 20 years of my career in marketing really focused on communication, storytelling, relationship building. And then one day, one of my key mentors, his name was Ryan Gorman at the time, came to me and said, "Hey, I want you to lead product." And literally, I've told Paula this story and we've laughed about it, but literally at the time I had to, what is product? I mean, I literally had to look that up, and this was not my area. For me, my career and my next point in my career was in my mind going to be a CMO. That was the goal that I was working towards. And then all of a sudden he came to me and said, "Hey, I see this in you. I think this is a really good opportunity for you." And I definitely had that moment of imposter syndrome, like, oh gosh, can I do this? Am I capable? All of the questions that we often ask ourselves in those moments. And I think what was different about this decision was I went into it with an open mind. I think, Charlotte, you said it well. You didn't limit yourself to a predefined path. And for me, that was really what I embraced. I embraced an opportunity that challenged me, was very uncomfortable, but it was unexpected, but it helped me grow. And I could have stayed on that path of marketing, but I saw an opportunity here to really go in a different direction. And it's been incredibly rewarding. It's been and talk about challenging. I have been with the company for 25 years, but gosh, every day is a challenge, and every day there's something new. So I can certainly relate to that. In terms of the skills that I think I've found from this are definitely strategy, execution, building solutions that drive business results. All of those things have really come from the shift in moving into this world. But at the end of the day, much of what we're doing is storytelling. Whether you're in marketing, whether you're in product, you have to be able to tell what makes the work that you're doing important, impactful, and how it's going to change people's lives. And so that was my story. I'm grateful that I was able to take that leap. It was certainly a scary one. I would encourage anyone who's at that type of moment in their career where they've kind of got their predetermined path ahead of them, be open to the pivot, be open to the change. I think that's when you get most uncomfortable, but you also have the biggest opportunity for growth.
I love that, Kacie. Be open to the pivot, right? How many of us, let's see by a show of hands, both online and in the room, have had to be open to the pivot, right? Do something dangerous, do something scary, right? And get out of your comfort zone. I love that. So, Lindsay, your turn. Share with us.
I love telling stories. I was actually getting off a plane last week. I was going to speak in Dallas for Coldwell Banker Realty, and I was laughing to myself thinking about a lot of my report cards growing up had the phrase, "Lindsay is a pleasure to have in class, but she does not stop talking." And I'm like, look at me now, going to speak for Coldwell Banker, making your career out of it. But I've always loved stories. And, I think about the time that I spent in one of my roles at Coldwell Banker in PR, and we used to say facts facts tell, stories sell. And I think both are equally important in telling your story. And I can't tell you how many women I've talked to and they say, I need help with crafting my career narrative or my story for an interview, my resume, a meeting. And how do I go about that? And something that Charlotte said that is so poignant is, so what, right? So one of the things that I've really quickly realized in my career is knowing who your audience is to pair it with the story is so important. And ask yourself when you're telling that story, so what, at least 3 times. I increased by 30%. So what? So I solved this problem. So what? And once you do that a couple times, your story is going to really come together in a way that would have been much stronger than that original, I did this X thing. This is my 14th year with the company. I started as our first social media manager. Then I led national advertising. I had a pivot moment where I got a call from John Payton and said, we're going to ask that you take on something outside of Coldwell Banker, which I never thought I would do. But I think the important thing there is allow people into your story that you have trust in. I will tell you, never in my wildest dreams that I think I would have a senior leadership team from the first day of my career at Coldwell Banker to now that were so committed to my career and maybe even seeing things that I didn't see. So being able to share the story that you want in your career with people around you that you trust, confide, and be vulnerable with, and allowing them to play a role in that journey is so important. I came back to being a vice president of PR, and I'll never forget having to tell the story to Ryan and John at the time. We're thinking about doing this in the next 2 weeks. I'm going to break some news to you guys. I'm pregnant with twins. And having the confidence to tell that story and having the faith in the leadership team around me to, really explain to them, hey, here's what's coming in my life. Here's how I plan to handle this while I'm out when I come back. And ultimately bringing me to my role right now is all of that has been done through storytelling, really knowing my audience. And any single position that I've ever been in, I've thought of the so what for my boss or, my leadership team, and how is the small role that I play at Coldwell Banker or anywhere ultimately rolling up to what's the most important thing to my management team. And a lot of people are hesitant to say, maybe I don't know what I don't know. How does my role connect to the bigger picture, the thing that matters the most right now? So if you're not sure of your career narrative or your narrative about how to talk about what you're working on in a really impactful way, guess what? There's nothing more helpful right now than Copilot. AI, there is nothing that is more valuable to you where you can be vulnerable, ask questions, role play, and telling your story. You could say to Copilot right now, I'm going into a meeting with my head of HR, my president, my CMO, head of product, help me to tailor my story for this presentation, my resume, whatever, in a way that makes the most impact to that audience. You'll become a better storyteller overnight. I would say that is one of the greatest things that you can use right now. That's really brand new, innovative, personable. I use it probably more times than I'd like to admit in a day. And then the last thing I'll say is, social media has really been a big part of my storytelling. It helps me to tell the story of my brand, helps me to tell the story of my team, my company. So I think that's been great. I actually had a woman from University of Alabama DM me yesterday and said, I see what you're doing at Coldwell Banker. I see what you're doing with what moves are. I need a mentor. I know this is totally out of the blue. I'm in PR. I don't know where to get started. I spent 20 minutes talking to her last night. So putting yourself out there on social, you have no idea where it's going to bring you, the connection to get, but be willing to put yourself out there with that story and you will be, it'll come back in dividends for sure.
Yeah, I love that.
Two
Thank
quick
you so
things.
much.
Can I jump in here?
Absolutely.
From one twin mom to another soon to be twin mom, congratulations. But also I would say the first pivot or the first move is probably the scariest. So it does get easier over time. I think the first one is definitely the hardest. And just, having lived through more than one pivot, take the first leap is my advice. Back to you, Paula.
Yeah, of course. Take the first leap. I love it. So really, you leaned into one area I was going to talk about because we're talking about women in motion, and I also want to clap it up for the fellas as well, right? Because we have Roger in the room.
Roger and Joseph.
Exactly.
Roger's the single best supporter we have. He is front row of everything. He is on our podcast.
Always.
He is
He's
like
our
our
hype
ride or
man.
die champion for our group.
Totally is.
Thank you, Roger.
Absolutely. Well, he's a girl dad, so.
Girl dad.
He even,
Love that.
texted me and said, break a leg. I gotta love that.
Awesome. So yeah, in terms of AI, right? Tell us how you guys are using AI in the work that you're doing and how, we shouldn't be afraid of it and how we should embrace it because it is the wave of the future and it is a part of innovation. Kacie, do you want to take that for us?
Absolutely. I love that Lindsay brought up Copilot because I'm using it daily, multiple times a day. My kids are using it. My daughters are in their 20s and they're using it daily as well. I definitely consider myself naturally an early adopter, but I'm an intentional adopter of technology. And I immediately jumped into AI. We're certainly on the product side doing quite a bit of work with AI. Some of the things that we're most proud of. Number one is the work we did this past year with Listing Concierge and AI. One of the first products within Anywhere that we introduced AI. It's now one of the key pieces of functionality within Listing Concierge that our agents are using to write their property descriptions, write their captions, their social media posts. And we won 2 industry awards last year for that work. So I'm very, very proud of that. Yeah. But in terms of just my daily business, I mean, it's true. I mean, to be honest with you, I used Copilot today to prepare some of my talking points to make sure that I stayed on track. I use it. I use it really constantly. Even if I'm going to have a challenging conversation, I love Lindsay's point. I mean, there's moments where I'm going into a challenging conversation and it's like, I'm asking Copilot, how would you handle this? And, or, I'm going to have a challenging conversation with a vendor and I want to be stern, but I want to make sure that I retain the relationship. I'm thinking about those things. And, I mean, having that kind of person, that virtual person on the other end to feed off of and learn from has been incredible. If you're holding back or not really toying with it, I would highly encourage you to just jump in, use it in your daily work, use it in your personal work. My husband and I went out to dinner last night. We were sitting there eating pizza and he was telling me about, he's in police work, and he was telling me about a grant that he wants to write for his department because they need money. And he was like, but I don't know what we'd want. And I'm like, well, let's ask Copilot. And so we put it in. And the next thing we knew, while we're sitting there eating pizza, we had an entire grant letter written of all the things that he could go. And he goes, oh my gosh, I'm going to go into my chief tomorrow and I'm going to wow him. And I'm like, perfect. So you may surprise yourself with what you're capable of with using that.
So for AI, prompt engineering is a fancy way of saying, like, what am I asking AI to do? There are certain prompts that I use almost every day. The first thing I usually say is act as a chief marketing officer, act as a social media expert, whatever, act as a copywriter. That is the thing that I start almost every prompt with. I also say I am writing this for, I am speaking to, and I give them my audience. I'm speaking to someone in product, HR, whatever, a direct report. And that usually sets up the conversation really well. I always say what type of tone I'm going for. I want it to be conversational. I want it to be really direct. I want it to be assertive. And I want it to be succinct. I will never forget the review with Ryan Gorman. And he said, do you think that your emails are succinct? And I was like, well, that's not leading the witness. I would say it's probably not. So I will stop writing you chapter books and I will start doing bullets. And I pretty much write every email now and say, make it more succinct, because who wants to read a 5-page email? I know I don't. I know my leadership team doesn't. So that's something that I use every day. And I feel like that has really improved my conversation through email and through writing. I will also say there are moments, just like we all have at work, where I feel frustrated and I write something and, the general rule is sleep on it, but we don't have time to sleep on things. I will usually say to Copilot, read this. Does it come across as aggressive, overly assertive? And if it is, can you soften it or can you change the tone? And it feels like we're cheating, but honestly, use all the tools around you. And I feel like it has saved me a few times from maybe saying an email that could have come across the wrong way, interpreted as maybe not nice, because that would never be the way that I mean to come across. But in the moment, all of those tools, especially as women, guys, right? You write an overly assertive email without the exclamation point or the smile. Like, we don't want to be seen as not being nice. So use it to your advantage. And I can't tell you how much I feel like my communication skills have improved by being really conscious of using those tools and setting it up that way.
Fantastic. Charlotte, would you like to lean into that, or do you have something else you'd like to add?
Yeah, I think from my vantage point, it's about using it myself, but more importantly, leading others in my function to use it. So I have a role leading the function here. I also have a role as the chair of the audit committee on a different company. And there's a lot of ways that, we can use it both for efficiency and for clarity and crispness of communications. But, that's more on one side. The other side that's super powerful is on, how do we use it? Like, we've won awards for using it in things. We're now incorporating it into the products that we offer our agents and our franchisees. That's making it so much faster and swifter for us to have marketing presentations that people can list their homes. So I think the sky's the limit. We've barely cracked the surface. It evolves every day. So what you could do today is going to be probably even easier to do tomorrow. And I think as a leader, it's my responsibility to make sure people not only are not intimidated by it, they're informed how to use it, and then know that they should be actually embracing it. And it's across the spectrum. I think we'll only do our company a service to be like front running this versus like waiting for others to lead. So I say, this is a leadership moment. It should not be a scary thing. And if it is, like, find others that can help you become trained. We train in finance all the time. We give demos on how we're using it, whether it's from like forecasting accuracy, so that you get a better result if AI does your forecast, if you feed the right information into the system. It's all about the prompts, as Lindsay was saying. It's all about, how you start the conversation with AI to get the best outcomes, but you're never going to get good at it until you start. I mean, even rudimentarily, like how you search Google, like you get better at like Google search by giving it the right inputs. It's nothing more complicated than that. So I'm excited by it. I think we barely scratched the surface. We have a lot of resources here at the company, and if it's intimidating, go find a buddy to help you. But this is where everything's moving. So if you're not doing it, you're kind of missing the train. The train's leaving the station without you.
Yeah.
Sue and I also talk a lot about a relationship that we had probably 5 years ago where we did reverse mentorship. So if you're looking to learn about something and maybe someone else has a skill set, it's always helpful to go into conversation with, I can offer you this, and I would love if you offered this back. We had so many great conversations in that office over that, 6-week period. But think about, I know a lot of people in the room are like, I want a mentor. Think about that reverse mentor opportunity as something that, especially in AI, there's so many people in the building right now that are so well versed in it. That's a great opportunity to explore that as a type of mentorship.
Yeah, I love that. So innovation,
Paul,
absolutely embracing that.
I want to actually give you kudos, because after a presentation a while back, you reached out to me along the lines of the reverse mentoring. And Paula reached out to me, and we've created a rapport. And it was simply like, she and I never crossed paths. And I spoke at a session. She reached out. She said, can we connect? I feel like we have a lot of the same mindset. And she did that. And now I feel like we're friends. We've never actually met in person, but I feel like we're friends and we're connected. So that is an example of, taking a moment, seeing an opportunity and seizing it. And so I would encourage you, if you're looking for people like that in your career and an opportunity to be mentored and or mentor others, seize it and look for those opportunities. But Paula, you did that, and I loved it.
Thank you. Yeah, absolutely. And so that actually tees up my next question, right? I've often heard it said that people are the people they are because of the people they are around. So who, might I ask, are some of the people that was influential in your journey, in your growth, and helping you become, who you are today? I don't know, Lindsay, you want to kick us off?
Before we go any further, my twins that I talked about are now 5. So before someone messages David Marine with Lindsay's pregnant with twins again, they are now 5. Just to be real clear, because I see the congratulations in the chat. I'm like, David's going to wonder why I told the women's ERG first and not him. So just to clarify, they turned 5 last Friday. I will say one of my best mentors, and it's not because she's sitting in this room, has been Tanya. Because I've always looked up to her from the second I got into the company as an up-and-coming leader. I love the way that she does business. But the thing that I love about Tanya as a mentor is she is very comfortable with giving feedback. I was an athlete my entire life, and the best coaches are the ones that are willing to have tough conversations with you. I have never gone into a meeting wondering where I stand with Tanya. I've always known that the feedback she's going to give me comes from the heart. It could maybe be tough to hear sometimes, but I know that it's coming from a place of care and love and support. So I will say, find someone like Tanya. Tanya is a great mentor, and she's been really pivotal, someone that's been in my corner for 14 years. And I feel like I can just always come to her really personally and professionally. I'll have mom talks with her where I'm like, I'm going to be real vulnerable. I need some advice as a mom. So having someone like that in your life is an absolute blessing. You really have been a blessing for 14 years. And I don't tell you enough how much I appreciate you.
Wow, let's clap that up. Yeah, I have to agree. Same for me with Tanya. I did the same thing that I did with Kacie to Tanya. I just reached out to her and said, hey, can I spend some time with you? And she says, absolutely. I'm going to put you on my calendar once a month. I was like, oh, that's not what I was expecting, but yes, please, and thank you. And so this is the type of support that we have amongst each other. Kacie or Charlotte, would you like to share on who's influenced you and who's mentored you along the way?
Charlotte, do you want to go or do you want me to go?
Sure, I'll go. I've had a couple of different inspirational people that I've worked with along the way that have enabled me or prompted me to be the authentic person that I am and know that it was okay. When I first started in finance, they were mostly like white men working in jobs, and they were very different than me. And, I felt like I had to be like one of them. And so along the way, the first person that was super helpful, not only in my career, but just in like making me the leader I am today, was one of my first bosses. He's actually the one that made me go to graduate school. He made the company sponsor me and pay for my graduate school. And I said no. I was like, I don't want to do that. Like, I'm good. And he's like, Charlotte, like, I promise you, like, you should really do that. And it's not because he put me in graduate school, and it's not because the company paid. It's because of who he was as a person. He was 100% authentic himself, a super compassionate person. And it let me know, like, I have empathy for people that work on my team. And he let me know it's okay to do that as a leader and not just be all about the numbers and the cents. Like it's dollars and cents is not everything in business. So he taught me how to advocate for people. And, and when I said no 10 or 12 times, like, he still kept on it until I said yes. And like perseverance and just making sure that the people that need your support, you're there for them. The second person was my boss when I was at Pepsi, and I was pregnant with twins, and he had a very, high risk pregnancy as well. Unfortunately, his kids both have cerebral palsy. And he was super empathetic to me when I had to go out on, work from home at 30 weeks. And that wasn't common then. It wasn't common to like, work from home, especially at a company like Pepsi, which is very hard driving. And again, showing me how to be like, you can be an empathetic leader, you can support your team. From those two men alone, and they're men, right? They're men, which is like not who I think of normally as being the most empathetic, especially about family situations and other things. I've never once backed away from those principles after seeing how they were great bosses. The third person is the head of sales at Pepsi was a woman. I'd worked supporting sales for 10 years in my career. Never a female was the lead for a sales organization, especially as hard driving as Pepsi. And I loved, like, she was a tough person, but she was, authentically herself. And she never wavered on who she was as a person. And she did an amazing job. So there's a bit of like men in the situation that were my bosses, a female that was a leader that inspired me. I'm just lucky to have worked with such great people. And I take that seriously, that responsibility seriously, and hope I'm, even 1/10 of how great they were for the team that works for and around me.
And you're definitely paying it forward, Charlotte. Thank you so much. The great work that you do within our organization and your leadership role with the Women's ERG as being the executive sponsor. So thank you for that. How about you, Kacie?
I was in thinking about this. I'm going to share two stories. One is I think the women around me in my life, my personal life, have really helped to shape me. I grew up with a very strong mother who was very successful in her own right. And so when I think, in fact, in preparing for today, I actually messaged her and let her know that I was going to be talking about her, and she got teary-eyed. But she was talk about someone who was unique in her time. She was born in the 40s, and at that time, typically a woman was either a mom and didn't work, or she went into nursing or teaching, but there were very limited avenues for you to go. And my mom worked her way up into running 2 hospitals, and she was an incredibly successful woman. So that was what I had to look up to as I was growing up. And now I'm the mom of 2 daughters who are in their 20s. And as the mom of 2 daughters, having gone through the teenage years, I've developed, I would say, a high level of adaptability, empathy, and sure. I think the ability to just manage a lot of different things that are happening. And so I think it's the resilience, the determination that all of them have really brought me that have been really important to my career and really shaped the type of leader I want to be for my team. I think it's given me a deep sense of responsibility, not just to lead, but also to model what I think strong women should look like in the professional workplace. So I think that's one piece. And then the second is I mentioned Ryan Gorman earlier, but he was an incredible mentor to me. He saw something in myself that I didn't see, and he was someone who recognized me, and again at a time where I was very fixated on a certain area of my career. He told me, be open to change. In fact, the advice he gave me when he said he wanted me to move into product was, don't be focused on the discipline, be focused on being a great leader. And I remember that just really resonating for me, because I thought that really opened up my world. If I can really focus on just being a good leader to my people, then I can really be successful in any part of the business. And so shifting into that mindset has been great. And I've had other leaders along the way. Tony Quay was our last, was our CPO a while back. And he, from the moment I met him, he was like, I'm going to help you grow in your career. And he was in my corner from day one. And so I think, I love seeing some of the cheers to the men, because it's absolutely right. It doesn't have to be women that are building each other up. There's many men who want to see us succeed.
I love that. Thank you so much. And so, yeah, clap that up. Yeah. And so we have a community, right? Of a variety of people who support us and lift us up. And so we want to say thank you to them. So we got about 3 minutes left. Speed round. Charlotte, I do know that you might need to jump off. So if you need to do that, feel free to do that. And what I want to do is turn it over to our virtual folks. Jess or Kiana, what's happening in the chat? I see a lot of movement. Anything you think you want to share from the chat?
We are getting a lot of love for all of the panelists in here.
You said something about community while we're waiting. The ERGs, I mean, this is the perfect example. If you're looking for someone to speak with, mentor, whatever, we have 8 amazing ERGs with so many generous employees across the board. So if you're looking for some way of getting started or serving as a mentor, the ERGs are something that it's just such a beautiful thing that has been built over the last, 5 to 6 years, maybe more. I remember Tanya called me on my day off once. I was like, oh God, Tanya's calling me and I have no idea what this could be about. She's like, I think we're going to launch something called an ERG and we want you to lead one of them. I was like, oh yeah, that sounds great. I remember when they were now they've grown to this amazing, 8 amazing communities. So, I mean, you being here is obviously
the person that cold called you, people should feel free if they see someone that they feel that they could learn from or benefit from having a conversation with, don't hesitate to reach out. I think this whole organization is people first. And I don't think there's many people that would say no.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's what I've found too. I've reached out to so many people in this room today, and no one has ever said no to me. And so many of my mentors are in this room as well. And so I wouldn't be able to be here without them and their support. So quickly before we wrap it up, any good books you're reading that you'd like to share with us? Lindsay, I know you mentioned earlier.
Honest, I'm a beach reader. I'm like Elin Hildebrand all the way.
We'll take that too.
I'm reading Die with Zero. It's about kind of balancing wealth building, but also being in the moment. I'm not through the entire book, so I can't give you the whole spark notes, but ultimately it's been really helpful to read it and recognize sometimes you just got to go for the vacation with your family, pull the trigger on the bathroom remodel, whatever it is, while also being financially responsible. But it's a really good book. I'm really enjoying it. So if you want to look at it, Die with Zero.
Awesome. Die with Zero.
That one out. That's a good one.
Good one.
Yeah. I'm currently reading Grit. That was a recommendation by Angie Rivera. And I'm working on my Grit score right now. So I'll get back to you guys on that. How about you, Kacie? Anything you're reading now?
I feel like I'm a little boring, but I'm reading a book called Radical Focus right now. It's really about setting objectives and key results to achieve your goals. But we're working on all of this reimagine work, and it's really focused on how do we set clear objectives. And so I'm reading this book about that to help my team get on that path. But I would much rather be reading a beach read, Charlotte.
Yes. All right. Well, thank you so much. Again, I see the chat blowing up, lots of hearts, lots of clapping hands. Thank you so much for the discussion. We really appreciate all of your insights, sharing a little bit of your heart with us today. I sometimes find myself without words, and in moments like this, when I could look around and see so many wonderful people who work hard at not only the business, but at the important work of also empowering those around them. And that's what Women's History Month is all about. And it goes beyond just the month. And so I encourage you to continue supporting one another. And I want to say a big round of applause to our guests.
And thank you, Paula. Paula for the people.
It's Paula for the people. And so with that, as you know, this presentation today is a joint one. And so I'm going to turn it over to Sue, who's going to do our part on from What Moves Her.
Thank you. That was awesome. Thanks, everyone. I'm laughing, so I'm a beach read too. I just had that conversation with somebody last night over dinner, and I said, "Oh yeah, I don't do business books. I know. I feel like I should. I got nods from a lot of people, but I feel like I do a lot of business. So instead, I do beach reads. I just read The Rose Code, which is Quinn. So good. We got applause. So read it. I didn't write it, but we're still getting applause for my reading it. So hopefully that's for the book. Not that I read something, but it was. It was getting way too much laughs, ladies. But no, it's a fantastic book. And I actually started another one then this morning. I'm usually on 2 or 3 books at a time somehow. I have like one that I'm reading, one that I'm listening to, one that I don't know how to keep it straight, but somehow it works. So listen, this was an incredible panel. And thank you guys so much for all of you being here. And Roger, thank you for being here as always in our front row. I'll just keep calling that out for you. Really interesting conversation. And it's fun to sit and watch some folks that you've been able to be a part of, seeing them, kind of step into different leadership roles and take different leadership roles over time and expand and take the risk and, have just a seat watching that happen is a lot of fun. And, a lot of mentoring going on in this building, which is really cool. And so thank you, all of you, Paula and the ladies, for an amazing panel. Always inspiring to hear from everybody. Now we're going to move into the What Moves Her portion of the event, which is something I was encouraged by one of my former mentors to start as What Moves Her 5 years ago, which is actually just so hard to believe that we started this 5 years ago. And now we're thousands of women strong and men throughout the industry. And it's really, really cool to see what's happened. And about a couple of years ago, we said, what can we do now? What's next? What are we going to add to this? And we're going to add the Moved by Her Power Award. And we thought it was a great opportunity to award women in our industry for having an impact that isn't measured necessarily by units sold or transaction volume or all of these things that we are generally measured by in this space, but rather celebrate women for making a significant impact in their communities and within the real estate industry. So this award continues that tradition, right? Honoring incredible women whose leadership, dedication, and vision have changed the landscape for many, whether it be in the industry or their community or both. And it does do so by honoring women who have exuded extraordinary passion in what they do, whether it be to their community. They create lasting impacts for folks, trailblazers in their professional field. And it is an honor for What Moves Her and myself personally to give an opportunity to uplift these women and celebrate those incredible achievements in a way that has not really been done before in our space. So it's really fun. And I thank the team for bringing that idea to me a couple of years ago and helping us take this to the next level. So our 2025 recipient joins an inspiring list of women. So last year, our inaugural winner, Joanne Liskowitz, who continues to inspire. Joanne is actually an agent with Coldwell Banker Realty in our Hillsborough, New Jersey office, and she does a ton of work through philanthropy. She accomplished, I think they've raised over $1 million in her dancing charity they do for breast cancer. They were on, what show is it? I'm going to forget, one of the daytime talk shows, which was really cool to go raise money for. It's an amazing story. It's on our website. You can go take a look at it, but it was great to honor that. And our finalists last year, Ruth Rivera and Michelle Lundy, both amazing and generous contributors to their community. and to the industry, and very excited to honor them last year. And so this year, we're proud to announce our finalists. So we're going to start with our 2 finalists for the 2025 Moved by Her Power Award. Our first finalist is Cindy Hansen. So Cindy is a dedicated leader and real estate professional known for her teamwork, mentorship, and community service. Introduces innovative training, leads industry initiatives, supports local causes, and most recently helped to coordinate disaster relief efforts to help those in need. Our second finalist is Grace Merritt, who is known for her dedication to her community, service, mentorship, and empowering women. She's made an lasting impact through leadership, volunteer work, and charitable initiatives. From supporting women entrepreneurs to coaching youth sports, God bless, Grace continues to break barriers in real estate. We are so proud to honor her as one of our finalists. And both women truly do exemplify what it means to lead with purpose. And we are very lucky to have them as part of our What Moves Her community. And now, for the moment we've all been waiting for, it is my privilege to announce the winner of the 2025 Moved by Her Power Award. This year's recipient of the Moved by Her Power Award is Tanya Moore, who's here. Yay, come here. Oh, come on. I'm gonna make you stand here while I talk about you. Okay. It's so good. So good. So congratulations, Tanya. So Tanya is somebody who just absolutely, first of all, lifts up any room that you walk into. I've had the pleasure of knowing you for a very long time. And as we talked about over lunch, you've been a part of our Anywhere family in so many ways, right? Yeah, right. Century 21, Coldwell Banker, and ERA Live More. And so we've known each other for quite a while. But Tanya fosters inclusivity. Without question, I know ERA Live More and your broker there with Ebb has won the Unity Award for ERA, which is a very meaningful award within that network for sure. And I know how much it means to both give that award as I've done so in the past, but also to see those who receive it. Important work mobilizing disaster relief, promoting diversity in homeownership, you truly do exemplify women in leadership, top to bottom, and it's amazing. And you're here with your daughter today, which I just absolutely love. It's so great. We got to have a little lunch before this, and we had a lot of fun telling stories as we joke about sometimes moms shouldn't know everything, but we find it out over time, right? So listen, your achievements have inspired our team, and we are truly overjoyed to share your success with the entire Anywhere Real Estate Network. So it's my honor to present you, it's fine, this award, Tanya. Thank you for continuing to inspire all of us at What Moves Her.
Thank you. Thank you so.
And I did have fun calling Tanya to let her know. And you're like, I didn't see that your phone. I was like running after. I'm like, you don't always have to answer when I call, but I appreciate that you do.
Who is calling me? I need to answer.
What happened? Well, here, let have you say a couple words.
I would be happy to say a few words. Thank you. Gosh, what an incredible honor to receive this award. And it has been an amazing afternoon to spend time with all of you, inspiring women and leaders. Roger, thank you for being in the front row. And Sue, I'm so grateful to you for creating What Moves Her and a community that empowers women and encourages them to have, as was released on the podcast yesterday, I told you and Lindsay, I loved, you encourage women to have a seat at the table and a voice in the room. And this award is a testament. We've heard a lot today about surrounding ourselves with greatness and excellence and mentors. It's a testament to what we can do collectively when we come together with purpose and passion. Our vision at ERA Live More is we empower dreams through real estate. And to me, that's what this award is about. It's about uplifting others, believing in what's possible, and working to create meaningful change. So thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
It is. It's just amazing to be surrounded by so many people and be able to share the stories, to get the stories. Tanya was nominated multiple times, which is awesome because that also just goes to show the involvement and the engagement and the awareness of the work that you do. And to everybody else that was nominated, tremendous turnout, I guess is the right phrase, maybe, but people to look through the amazing work. Everybody has done so much good stuff, and I love seeing it and keep on doing it because it absolutely inspires me and everybody else every single day to do more and to encourage people to not just have a seat but use their voice. So I would also like to give a huge shout out to our awards team, the team that helps make this all happen. Thank you. I love the awards. Tanya's got it, but I love the actual award. It's really pretty, so I love that. So thank you. Thanks to the dedication of that team, and of course the entire What Moves Her team. But shout out to the folks up here who really put in a hard amount of work to make sure that we continue to recognize and uplift inspiring women in our community. So thank you to everybody there. And I would also, before we wrap up, I do want to encourage everyone to stay involved, to get involved if you're not, if you were just joining us today, whether it be part of What Moves Her, whether you want to join one of the ERGs that you've heard so much about today, whether it's the women's one or many of the other. I'm the executive sponsor for the service ERG within Anywhere. But please, there's so many ways to get involved for What Moves Her. It's Instagram, we've got a Facebook page, we've got a website, we've got podcasts. Going to continue doing all of that this year, local communities, but really lean in, get involved, and be part of the community or a community, because it really is the best way to be part of this team and this company that I'm so proud of. And I'll just, before I hand it back over, and I know we're running late, I think it's important to note that we talked about 70% of the team here at Anywhere is female. We have over 45% of women in our top leadership, like 200 leaders within the company. It's over 45% women. I think that's pretty cool too. So really proud of that. Really proud of this team. Thank you very much. Thanks for having me. Thanks for coming up. And I'm going to turn it back over to you.
Thank you, Sue. Thank you so much. So I was speaking with a manager of an office, and I was inviting her to this event, and she said to me, "Oh, great, I'm going to bring my whole office. We'll have a watch party. These powerful agents, hugely successful. They don't even take recruiting calls because they are so just tied to our company, and a lot of it is because of the strong women leaders at the top of our company." So this event was a huge collaboration between the Women's ERG, What Moves Her, and the Women in Tech and Product. So if you were inspired today, if you want to be around other like-minded women, please use the QR code, join us, and thank you to the other organizations as well. We really, again, it was a huge collaboration. I want to also share what else we have going on for Women's History Month. We next week have what we're calling our keynote with David Marine, and it's storytelling always wins. And this is something that, please tell your colleagues, tell anyone you know who's in the real estate industry. This will be a virtual event. Anyone can join. Love to have you. The link to register is going in the chat, as well as those QR codes, so you can join our different organizations. And then last but not least, and I stood over in this spot for a very specific reason, I do need to thank everyone who was involved with putting this event together. We had the Women's ERG, had our crew, What Moves Her had their crew, and the Women in Tech and Product brought their crew just to bring this all together. So with that, we're wrapping up. Thank you all for being here. And what I say to agents at the end of a meeting is, let's go sell some houses. That is what we all do. So let's get back to it. Let's go sell some houses.